Welcome in, everybody, to Fandom NFL. I'm your QB1, Joe Pisapia, and what a treat we have for you today on the show. A lot of you are in a lot of regular old fantasy leagues, but I want everybody out there, if they never have, to expand their horizons and try something new this year, and that is a chop league. And if you've never done anything like that, it's called different things, but basically every single week, somebody who doesn't score enough points or has the worst luck or the worst week ever gets eliminated. It's one of my favorite formats, and the godfather of that format is here talking with us today, not only about those kind of leagues, but also the strategies about them. And on top of that, a little ADP risers and fallers. We got everything. It's jam-packed for you today. Paul Charchian is here. Paul, it is so great to see you. I know you got a new podcast out. You got the chop stuff going on. But really, just for me personally, it's just nice to see your face and talk with you because it's been a hot minute. So Tell us about the new podcast. Tell us about what's going on before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show.
The chop format is a blast, and I'm really excited to talk about that. Relaunched our long running podcast under a new name. All my same co-hosts, Scott Fish and Matt Harrison and Brian Johnson. It's called Fantasy Football World, and Fantasy Football World comes out every Friday. And it appears it is also a radio show. So it's a podcast / radio show that appears on some iHeart owned sports talk radio stations, including like Minneapolis, Milwaukee, Dallas, Seattle. So you may have the opportunity to hear it over the air as well. And then within that family,
Paul, I just want you to know, I've been told in the past I have a face for radio, so I went to YouTube.
I love it. You've got a digital face. I think we'll maybe stay to digital platforms. How's that?
There you go. The digital face, the digital face of fantasy football. I like that. We'll run with that. We'll run with that.
We also have in the Fantasy Football World family of podcasts is Staying Alive, a podcast that is just about the chop format. And again, the way this works is you start the season with up to 18 teams, and ideally 18, but you can play with less because there's 18 weeks in the season. And every week, the low-scoring team gets chopped from the league forever. Their players go to the waiver wire, where the rest of us are bidding on superstar players and building a roster the likes of which you will never get in any other format. By the time November rolls around, December rolls around, you're like, oh, I think I got to bench CeeDee Lamb because I've got Jackson Smith in Jigba and Puka Nacua instead. You know, it's that kind of stuff. So tons of fun, lots of strategy, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, one of the things that I love so much about it is the waiver wire concepts behind it, right? You know, you're talking about, okay, how much do I want to spend? You know, that first team or second team is eliminated. Some of the big players, you know, are out there. Do you want to pace yourselves? You've got to look at the injuries too going into the season. Like guys like Jeremiah Love are going to fall in those kind of drafts because people are concerned. How much is he going to play? How soon is he going to play? Like that's not a great investment. So the health of players going into the year is so interesting. I'm one of these guys too that's constantly looking at the bye weeks and how they line up. So after waivers run, I'm the guy who's like picking one or two guys off the waiver wire who I think will next week maybe be bid on. So I'm trying to work like a week or two ahead, save a little bit of budget. But I'm also one to go balls to the wall for some of those big time free agents if I think they move the needle. And that's what's so fun. It's all these different strategies. And I have gotten a lot of people here on the YouTube channel, on Fandom NFL, who keep asking me, I want to do a league. And I thought to myself before the show, what a perfect situation, right? So if you want to do a chop league with me on Sleeper,
all right,
I want you to reply to this right here. Just sit in the comments here. Put your Sleeper name in there. First 16 people that I get can play in the league with me. All right. We won't do 18. We'll do this. We'll do the 16 plus me. That's 17. It's a good luck number. Week 18 is weird. Some weird stuff happens there. People don't play. So I don't want to get involved in that, but you reply there. We'll get as many as you can in that league as soon as we can, and we'll make that happen. Also, don't forget, before we start talking about some more of that strategy and the risers and fallers, don't forget, support our sponsor here on the show, and that is RotoWire. Use that promo code JoeyP. You get 20% off. You help keep this show on. And, of course, you download the app. You use the tools. Don't be a tool. Use the tools. They will help you out in your draft. The assistant GM is there to help you make the right decisions. You've seen the software run the show here. You know how good it is. The in-season tools for waiver, for trade are outstanding. Again, the promo code JoeyP, you get 20% off. I get a piece of the pie. Everybody wins and you get the best tools on the planet. And also, we got our new giveaway, the Thurman Thomas. The helmet did not work out. The seller was not getting it to me. I had to have him return it, need the money. It was a whole big thing on the show. So instead, we replaced it with this. I put out a poll, Paul, to the audience. I said, you pick. What do you want? And this is what they picked. Not bad. Signed Marshall Faulk jersey when we get to 5,000 subs. So Hall of Famer, Marshall Faulk.
I like it.
Not a bad looking jersey. Pretty snazzy if I do say. So how do you win? Subscribe to the channel. Drop your comments. Like this video. Hype this video too. The hype is good. We like the hype. Get a little rainbows and sunshine, all kinds of fun things. So Paul, talk to me about your concepts in the Chop League, how you approach it as somebody who is, like I said, the man behind this format, really, in my mind. So talk to me about what your approach is personally. Are you somebody that goes QB early? Are you somebody who goes tight end early because, those positions thin out a little bit more? And sometimes with those quarterbacks, if you have the good ones, right, the injury quotient typically a little less than some of the running backs. What's your roster construction look like?
Yeah, well, all right. So let's talk about some of the differences, especially around the draft. The Chop Leagues run, it's very different in season because, all of a sudden you're bidding on Bijan Robinson after week 2,
Right.
which is, mind blowing. But let's just focus here on the draft and some of the differences. Roster construction, since you asked specifically about that, Joe, for me, I slough quarterbacks 9 times out of 10 because there's 18 teams in my Chop League. There's 18 good quarterbacks. And all I have to do, remember, the biggest thing about the Chop League, and this is the overarching story. You have to change your mindset from trying to be the best of 12 teams to trying to be the not worst of 18 teams. So all you're trying to do is not be the 18th team in week 1 and not be the 17th team in week 2 and not the 18th team in week 3. So, and there's even something to be said about being near the bottom in some cases. So because there's enough good quarterbacks, like quarterback 18, Baker Mayfield, right? Baker Mayfield can get me not chopped. That's all I need him to do is, throw 2 touchdowns and 260 yards and I'm done. That's it. Baker Mayfield, you've accomplished your task. And so for me, the quarterback is the position that I slough the most. In years past, tight end has been the opposite because I've tended to gravitate towards high-end predictable tight ends because there's not enough good there aren't 18 good tight ends, right? Tight end 18, it's like Brenton Strange. Are you going to get me 1 catch for 12 yards and get me chopped? As opposed to just going with somebody who feels a lot safer. This year, there's quite a few good tight ends, Joe. I mean, maybe not 18, but if we go down 15 tight ends, give me your tight ends in the 15 range, Joe.
In the 15 range, I mean, you're starting to look at the Ferguson group of guys. You're looking at outside the Dallas Goedert group. See, I agree with you 100% a quarterback, and that's one of the. Unless I got a quarterback that fell to me and made a lot of sense, because I do think there is something if you got a good value on Josh Allen or even Lamar Jackson at his peak when he's healthy. That is a difference maker that there's a certain level of points you're getting every week because of everything that they do, the rushing upside, the passing upside, all that stuff. But with the tight ends, I tend to be an early tight end guy because also I feel like when you lock that in, then I don't have to spend for it anywhere else. If I get a Colson Loveland or a Tucker Kraft, I feel really good about that value. But to your point, you're looking at Goddard, you're looking at Juwan Johnson, you're looking at, Chig Okonkwo, I think is an interesting one too that I would throw out there. But the guys that I also find is the big pivot point is you're kind of not running towards the rookie upside. You're not running for the what if situations. No. I like to run to the salty veterans that I kind of know what their roles are and I know what I'm going to get. And I felt like that is the best way to get off to a good start in these formats and solidify as you're alluding to, your floor of points. So you avoid getting chopped and you can continue to live. And then you start to systematically add those better, bigger superstars later on.
That's a great point. So you hit on several things that are just key to this particular format. You are looking for safe weekly producers. Unlike, again, your traditional league where you need to take a bunch of risks and hope they all pan out. You can be the best of 12. We're trying to be the not the worst of 18 instead. And so somebody like Jacoby Myers, Khalil Shakir, they don't bring a lot of value to help you win a regular league because they don't have the upside. But what they have is the high floor. Those are guys who catch 4 balls for 50 yards most weeks and sometimes help you a little bit more than that. And because they give you that high floor, they don't get you chopped for the first half of the season. Those guys will help carry your team and you don't have to spend any of your fab on that position until it gets to be November when you need higher scoring output. So those typical guys that don't move the needle in a regular league really carry extra value in this format, the chop format, where again, we're just give me eight PPR points, baby, and I will not get chopped, right? If I can get everybody to give me 8 in the first month of the season, I'm fine. In the second month of the season, October, everybody get me 10 and I'll be fine. And that's a key difference for your chop drafts as opposed to the mindset that people have for regular leagues.
My favorite guy annually in chop drafts is always Derrick Henry, because as the season goes on, defenses start to check out. He gets stronger, the weather gets colder, and people just don't want to tackle Derrick Henry. So to me, that's always like my guy. Now, for all of you who are going to participate in this league, I want you to forget everything that we just talked about. All this good stuff.
No advice.
That's it. All this advice, don't use it against us. Well, what are we doing? We should have done this. So now we're helping all these people. But I want to hang out with our community here. I want to play in a league with everybody. It was a very, honestly, this Fandom NFL channel has come together rather quickly, and this community of people and the fan base here is absolutely spectacular. So I thought this would be the best way for us all to have some fun, talk crap to each other, play a little football. So again, drop your comments here that you want into the league with your sleeper name. First 16 people will get in a league together, and I'll send out the invites. We'll get a draft day, and we'll make it all work. All right, let's pivot here.
I love it. Well, hang on, Joe. I'm gonna interrupt. I'm gonna interrupt for just a second.
Please do.
So we talked about the guys that are safe weekly performers that carry extra value here. Let's flip that script over and talk about players who we otherwise might like, but carry extra risk in this format. 2 receivers come to mind. Rashid Shaheed, right? We love Rashid Shaheed when he brings in that bomb, right? He's great. And when he, that oddball return touchdown that he's going to get twice a year, fine. But when he doesn't catch the bombs, Rashid Shaheed could be sitting on a 2-catch, 20-yard game. And then you're stuck. That's a recipe for getting chopped. So Shaheed gives you 4 PPR points. Your tight end buds, because, you waited long enough. You had Hunter Henry, and he had a Hunter Henry game, and he went 2 for 2, 2 for 20. And now you're stuck. Now you're chopped. You want the other guy
in that realm.
Go ahead.
Jameson Williams.
Jameson Williams. That's exactly right. Yes.
There you go.
Yes, you did.
All or nothing. That's another guy I don't want. I want, like you said, the boring ass, give me 10 points and get the hell out of here. Those guys work. The 20-0 guys are tough in that format, Paul. They really are, because they put you in that chop line, which is not a line you ever want to be in.
That's right. The other persona that's really dangerous are touchdown dependent runners. Touchdown dependent runners have, if Chris Rodriguez might shape up as a touchdown dependent runner. I don't know that he's going to be the goal line back, but maybe he is. Probably doesn't get enough work to stand on his own. He might be 8 carries for 40 yards a lot of games. Doesn't really catch. Needs to score a touchdown. Otherwise, those 40 rushing yards are 4 points and you're dead, because he didn't score a touchdown. He didn't get you the 6-point touchdown. That's the other prototype that really can hurt your team as a touchdown dependent back. We love pass catching backs because the floor goes up. If you only have the 8 rushes for 40 yards, but you're going to augment that with 3 catches for 40 yards, well, now you just turned a 4-point PPR game into an 11-point PPR game, and it's totally changes the outlook of your fantasy team and the chop format.
That is fantastic analysis, and it could not be more true. And apparently my lawn guys want to hear a little bit about it too, because they just showed up to mow the lawn.
It always goes that way.
And they want to know. They're like, "Oh, Paul Charchian's talking about chop strategy. Let me
I got to get in on this."
Joe's window, right next to my window, right here, every time, no matter when I start. All right, so let's talk about some of these players that are moving up and down boards, and we'll get you out of here on time. So let's start with Travis Etienne, who is a player I just took this morning in the 4th round of the CBS draft for the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. We had the great charity running there. We had to pay to be in the leagues with certain analysts, and I was so lucky. Mine filled up in an hour. It was just filled.
That's awesome.
Ran to. It was so cool. This is the one league I said I don't mind losing, because all these people who paid money to do this, to beat me, good. Help the kids, kick my ass in fantasy, and let's have a good time together. But I took Travis Etienne because I started off with a team that was kind of like, just rolling the dice a little bit. I started with Chase Brown, then I went to Justin Jefferson and Malik Neighbors, and then Etienne was sitting there in the 4th round. And Jeremiah Love was still sitting there, and I know we're going to talk about him a little later. Achane is starting to move up because Alvin Kamara's injury, but I think that that's not a fair enough reason to move him up. I think there's a safety in him that people are starting to wake up to because of the Kamara injury. And I think they've been sleeping on it all during the early draft season because I think he's a very stable back. He is a guy that is constantly working within the confines of a passing game. He is a player that has given you several RB1 finishes already. He gave you a good rookie season, a terrific second year. Then he was hurt in his third year and bounced back in a big way. I think the offensive line is pretty good with New Orleans. There's a lot of reasons I think that even though he's starting to move up a couple ticks here and I see him basically 2 to 3 spots, doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. I think he's still a good investment. What do you think about Travis Etienne?
What I like about him is I do believe you've got a workhorse runner, and he can catch a bit. He'll help that way. What I don't like about him is his goal line productivity is awful, mind-bogglingly bad. 16 carries inside the 5 last year, 2 touchdowns. That is a 16% conversion rate, which is, I mean, beyond bad. He was 2 of 12, excuse me, and 16%. I mean, just, that part worries me. And in that offense, they gain a little bit because Taysom Hill is gone. Taysom Hill is vulturing touchdowns from inside the 5 all the time, and he's gone. But I think the guy that gets helped more from that is Juwan Johnson, who I absolutely love in this offense now. Jordan Tyson, that part is really unfortunate, but I think Juwan Johnson sits as a potential big winner there as well. So Achane to me is, I think he's one of those guys you're not going to regret taking because he's just going to get all the work. Alvin Kamara's washed. It's over for him. Devin Neal doesn't look like he's going to be what I thought he could be as a pass catching back out of Kansas. I thought there was a little more there, but it doesn't look like that's come together either. So I just feel like he's a safe pick that you're not going to regret having, but I think you've got the limited upside because Achane just doesn't score enough touchdowns, or hasn't anyway.
Fair enough. I'm a big follow the money guy, and whenever a team, and look, to the plus side of this too, I think Kellen Moore did a really good job last year, first-time head coach. I think Kellen Moore is going to run an up-tempo offense, and I think the opportunities will still be there because the volume and tempo of that offense is going to be very solid. So I still like him. Paul gives you some reasons to be cautious, which I think is good as we kind of evaluate these guys moving up and down the draft board.
Well, and Joe, we're talking about a 4th-round player, right? Every 4th-round player has got, positives and negatives, right?
How many 4th-round players can finish as the top 12 in their position, though? Not many.
Not many. He could see 12.
And he could see 12, and he could even see more, especially if Kamara's injury should linger. And Leary said, if he just ends up just being the guy the whole season, I mean, I think the sheer volume will continue to keep him afloat there. Now, there's another running back in this mix, too, that I know, actually 2 more we're going to talk about, but one in particular that I've been talking about a lot on this show, and I know you want to talk about him, too. It's Jordan Mason. 2026 projections have him at 889 with 6 touchdowns. He proved a couple years ago that he can handle a full workload stepping in for McCaffrey when he did. He finds himself ahead, a similar situation, right? Ahead of an older running back in Aaron Jones that we've loved in the past, but it's time to let some of those things go. I know they've got Claiborne as a rookie behind him, but Mason to me, and you've seen this tick up here where Aaron Jones in July was ahead of Mason, and now you're seeing that invert here as we get to September.
Yep. And a lot of your listeners don't know me very well. I've spent almost my entire life in Minnesota up until the last year, when I finally decided I was done shoveling. I had done my 50 years of shoveling and moved to Southern Utah. So very close to the team, worked on the flagship station for the Vikings for 30 years. Still follow the team very closely. Jordan Mason is one of the best buys there is in fantasy football right now at his ADP. And here's why. Number one, offensive line improvements over the last few years should come to fruition this year because last year they were all hurt. And it really discombobulated the offense a lot of different ways. Everybody healthy right now. They've got the same set of starters back. And I think they're going to have some, with the exception of center, they've turned over center a little bit. But I think this is going to be a better offensive line. But here's the biggest thing. Every indication is Jordan Mason is going to change from this is not going to be closer to the 50-50 or slightly leaning Aaron Jones like it was last year. This is going to be a 2/3, 1/3 situation with Mason getting 2/3 of the workload. He's probably the most improved veteran from last year to this year by all camp reports. He's the power back that that Kevin O'Connell's always wanted to have and hasn't had to this point. Aaron Jones has proven time after time he will get hurt. He has to be on a limited rotation, and Jordan Mason is primed to get a big spike in workload. And then the other sneaky thing, Vikings drafted a fullback, and this kid is crushing. And he is opening up big lanes. And if you get Jordan Mason to get past, he can get him to that second level, the linebacker level, and let him make a move on a guy, break a tackle. It's really gonna change things. Kevin O'Connell's never been somebody who's run inside the 5-yard line. Now you've got a run blocking wide receiver in Juwan Johnson who can sit in the slot and run block. You've now got a fullback who can run block from inside the 5-yard line. What's held Jordan Mason back more than anything else has been Kevin O'Connell's has not trusted his whole team to run inside the 5. I believe that changes here with Jordan Mason, and he's got double-digit touchdown upside. Boom. That's a long answer to a simple question, Joe, on Jordan Mason.
You know what? I think it's the right answer, and I don't hate that they shave some of the volume off of Jordan Mason too, because I do want to keep him healthy all year. And I think especially with the extended season and these crazy schedules that everybody's playing internationally and moving all over the place, I think it's helpful to have somebody else who, especially in the first part of the season, is at least shaving some of that workload off. You might get to a point where it's just so clear, or Aaron Jones gets hurt where it just changes and it goes all the way to Mason. But don't get frustrated if it's a little bit of a slower start with that split, as Paul is alluding to, because I do think it'll reward itself on the back end of the season, and you'll see it if Mason is healthy and being highly productive. Now, another running back situation, Pittsburgh, a little muddy. There's people like Jalen Warren, and then there's people like me who prefer Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle had some smash games last year. Rico Dowdle does have a history with the new head coach, Mike McCarthy. Projections for him this year, 195 on the attempts, 874 on the yards, 4 touchdowns. Last year, he had over 1,000 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns, and only 236 attempts. So what he did with the time that was given to him was incredibly special. And I think it's the evolution of Rico Dowdle. And the other thing that I put into this is not just the regime change here in Pittsburgh, but also if you come in and you evaluate and you like what you have, then why are you spending money on the running back? Like, I understand Mike McCarthy's a little older and maybe the game has passed him by a little bit and it's old school thought process. But to me, if you're spending money on a running back, your plan is to utilize said running back. And we're still waiting for Jalen Warren to have a 1,000-yard rushing season. It still hasn't happened. So where are you at with these two guys? Are you somebody that, even though the rising stock of Rico Dowdle is starting to, get closer and closer to where Warren is, or even overtake him in some drafts, are you in on Dowdle, or do you prefer Warren?
I'm at ADP. I prefer Dowdle. That could change if he continues to rise, but I'll tell you why. Arthur Smith's predilections in goal-to-go situations has always been run. In his 2 years in Pittsburgh, he has been a 66% run selector. And in those 2 years, Jalen Warren has converted just 28% of his carries into touchdowns. Rico Dowdle's career from inside the 5, goal-to-go situations, 59% conversion rate. That kid is a better touchdown scorer. And at the end of the day, it's just one metric, but it's an awfully important metric. That's 6 points. And
it's nothing more. It's the potential for 6 points. Oh, you're basically doubling that potential. And if I told somebody, hey, on this bet you just made, you could double the opportunity for it to win, you'd be listening, right? But then people still convince themselves that somehow Warren is the better investment, and it makes my head hurt, Paul.
I'm frankly, I'm kind of with you on that. So I feel like they're both going to have really similar usage numbers, but one guy could get double the carries or even most of the carries from inside the 5. Okay. To me, that's a really good tiebreaker. Let me ask you this while we're in Pittsburgh. Last pick of your draft. Darnell Washington.
No, I got too many other guys last pick of my draft that I'm looking for. But I understand. I understand. Like, he's a big boy who moves a lot of people around. He's a good time. If you love football, you love the Darnell Washingtons of the world. You just love that kind of stuff. I'm in the Tank Dell, Tess Law group of, those kind of guys that I'm looking at. Caleb Douglas, like those kind of guys. That's where I'm throwing the last darts at. But one guy that, people might be throwing some darts at a little sooner than expected is a guy that we talked about earlier in the week with Ray Garvin. We talked about some of the rookies. If you missed that show, go back and watch it. It was spectacular. Ray broke down some of the rookies, his takes, my takes on that impact they're going to make in redraft this year. But Deshaun Stribling is definitely one of these guys that is flying up boards, and with good reason. We know it's a system. When you perform well in the system, we know that you're going to get more opportunity in this system. That's just how it works. When Pearsall went down, things got a little easier. Now there's still Deebo Samuel, there's still Christian Kirk, still Mike Evans, there's still George Kittle, and some guy named Christian McCaffrey he's got to fight for targets. That's a lot of guys still.
Yeah.
But it's not stopping the helium of Stribling regardless.
No.
Do you find that surprising?
No, I'm on board. I'm buying. I believe in this kid. Day one starter because of all the injuries to San Francisco, especially Ricky Pearsall. Mike Evans, ticking time bomb, already hurt twice this training camp. Deebo Samuel runs from the slot primarily, won't take snaps away from Stribling, and he's good. Big-bodied, athletic, boxes out defenders, wins contested catches, hyper-competitive, good after the catch, good blocker, which will keep him on the field. And they're using him prolifically in the preseason, which doesn't always mean you're going to be great, but it feels like here, the way Kyle Shanahan is using him this much in these preseason games is to get him tuned up for week one and get him into the flow of high level action. So he's been out there with your starting offense for these two preseason games. They're pelting him with targets. And I think it's because they want that kid ready to roll week one. And he's going to be, I believe, one of those rare rookies that you can start week one and feel pretty confident in the production of right off the bat, even when historically most rookies, it takes a month, 2 months, even like Jahmyr Gibbs, Justin Jefferson, guys on Hall of Fame paces, where they were very inconsistent early. Man, Stribling, if Evans is carrying nagging injuries into week one, Stribling is your go-to receiver. George Kittle doesn't play week one. Evans is dinged up. Your go-to receiver in this entire offense could be Stribling week one. So I'm buying, Joe.
There weren't a lot of landing spots where I was going to be excited about Mike Evans this year. I was still in on Mike Evans because it was the 49ers and because, again, I feel like they're very capable in what they do and very focused on what they could get out of Mike Evans. If he went to somewhere else, I wouldn't be in on because of the injuries, but I'm still in on Evans. But to your point, man, it's getting hard. I'm also trying to remind myself, it's early, it's August. The old guys like, you don't want to shovel? I don't want to shovel either. Mike Evans doesn't want to practice. He doesn't want to play preseason games. He's been doing this for 10 years. He's not moving to Southern Utah. He's listening to Harry Potter Audible books, and he's hanging out in the locker room. He'll be ready when the bell rings week one. Let's just hope that he stays all intact. I want to talk about Casey Concepcion, too, for a second, too. Now, we took some heat on the last show because we didn't mention him, but Ray had a hard out at noon. We could have talked for 3 hours. I can't keep everybody all the time. Concepcion, for me, the struggle I'm having is once Deshaun Watson gets named as the starter, I already know the first couple weeks are going to be brutal. I can't get that out of my mind. So where are you with the stock with Concepcion? You see the projections here for the rookie, 52 catches for 652, 4 touchdowns. Like, that's moderately interesting.
But
I think that's light for him. I want to trade for him. I don't want to draft him. That's where I'm at with Concepcion.
Yeah, I think you're right to be worried about inconsistent performances from Casey Concepcion early in the season. They got to get through this whole absurd Deshaun Watson thing. That'll be over by week 3. The chance of Watson starting that week 3 game, if listeners don't know and viewers don't know, it's away game Jacksonville, away game Tampa. So that way Deshaun Watson won't get booed by his own team for those first 2 games. They're going to lose to Jacksonville. They're going to lose to Tampa. They're going to be 0-2. And then Shedeur Sanders is going to take over in week 3, I believe. Now, Sanders is not great either, right? So this is not like a savior, but he can get the ball downfield a little bit, and that'll ultimately help Casey Concepcion. And at that point, I think you're going to start, getting into October, you're going to start feeling more comfortable with him. The skill set's special. I love that he's a former running back. I love that he was a special teams guy. You can see him working in traffic all the time. Brutally tough to tackle after the catch. Concepcion's got some special traits that make you feel like, yeah, he could, he could end up being the go-to receiver by like week 5 in this offense, and it would be totally justified if you can just get non-awful quarterbacking. I mean, just give me just not be quarterback 32, whoever you are starting for the Browns. Can you be quarterback 25 and breathe some life into the passing game? That is asking a lot.
And to that point, Cleveland fans, if you're watching, toxic relationships are not good. This team already left you once. They left you for Baltimore. And then somehow you got remarried to the Browns again. You're allowed to make choices in life, and you can leave, and no one will look at you differently for rooting for another team. If you've decided you've had it with the Cleveland Browns, I just want to let you know I support you. If you want to move on and find a new team and enjoy the rest of your life, because it has been a slog for the last 25 plus years.
They deserve it. They deserve better. I hope their fan base hangs on, but I wouldn't blame anybody. Yeah, it's a phenomenal fan base. The team, honestly, the team doesn't deserve the fan base they've got in Cleveland.
That's what you do. That's what you tell. Like when someone breaks up with somebody, like, oh, they didn't deserve you. You're too good for them. That's what I'm telling you, Cleveland Browns fans. You're too good for this team. You dress up, you bark, you do all the things you're supposed to do. You come out in bad weather, in the wind, in that stadium that's crap over by the water, that's so windy you can't even feel your face sometimes. You deserve better. It's okay. You can leave this relationship if you want.
I'm so disappointed they're building an indoor stadium in Cleveland. What a bummer, man. I loved all the bad weather games there. That was the one stadium, that in Buffalo, where you could guarantee yourself some really fun outdoor games with all the elements, right?
Don't you? When you say Cleveland, what I know the first thing I think about is Elway and the Browns and those playoff games with the snow falling. Yeah. Like that's what I remember in my
epic.
Childhood. Falling in love with football during those games, watching them by myself because nobody else in the house was watching football. All right, let's talk about some of the guys going the other direction in terms of rankings and whether or not there's some value there. Don't forget, if you want to listen to the podcast too, you can listen wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, iHeartRadio. We're on all those platforms and the Believe Network as well. So check us out on Believe.com too. It's a great platform for a lot of great podcasts. Paul, let's start here with Jeremiah Love, who went from a second-round pick to now apparently a fourth-round pick in about 24 hours. I did a show with Ray, and we were talking about where he was going, and now I just saw he's really fallen off the map here. And I understand why. High ankle sprain could be a delay to this season, but also it's the concern of everything that I've seen in the past with Saquon Barkley and other guys where they just don't look like themselves even for weeks after. We already know there was going to be some sort of timeshare early on at least. It's difficult because I love the talent. You have to acknowledge the talent and the upside of what this guy is. Where is the right situation for you? How far does he have to fall before you're in on Love?
Round 3 is the fast answer, right? So this feels so much like Ashton Genty last year in that you can take an enormously talented rookie, but put him in a completely dysfunctional environment. And then, you can see where the wheels can just come off.
But
running back.
Because they signed a veteran running back
behind him.
So it's even worse than that scenario, I feel like.
It probably is. Even if in totality the Cardinals offense this year will be better than the Raiders last year, the environmental effects on running backs are massive. All the things around a running back affects a running back more than any other position. Even if your defense is bad, you're losing at 20 and we're not running anymore. If your quarterback play is bad, now defenses are keying on you, like Ashton Genty had for all of last year. There's so many things that can go wrong, and that's part of the concern with you on the high ankle sprain. The only good thing about this high ankle sprain, because it was in the preseason, they're not going to rush him back, presumably, right? They're not going to bring him back too soon, but you're exactly right. We've seen players who get the high ankle sprain, and the rest of their season is not the same because
that's my concern.
It's a devastating injury.
Because it's one of those things that lingers throughout the year. They don't look like themselves. It takes almost like 6 weeks past the recovery for them to look like themselves. Yep. And I heard an amazing stat. I was listening to a podcast that Harmon and Winks were doing. And they said that something like 89% of teams that start 5-0 make the playoffs. And I was like, man, it's really important to get off to a good start in your fantasy football leagues. Like
it's huge. It is.
Pick like Jeremiah Love in the wrong spot can send you in the wrong direction. One guy, we just talked about a running back too, that like how many guys that, go in the third or fourth round can finish in the top 10 in their position. Well, Emeka Egbuka could be one of those guys at wide receiver. The upside is there. It flashed last year in the first 6 weeks of the season when Baker was healthy and he was healthy, and then everything fell apart for the Bucs. Projections this year, 65 catches for 918 and 6 touchdowns. They're kind of hilarious because it's a copy and paste from last year. And if he stays healthy, I think he obliterates last year's numbers.
Oh, yeah. Not close. Mike Evans leaves a massive void, obviously, in this offense. Chris Godwin's role, I think, is pretty clearly defined. And that leaves the potential for a dominating outside receiver for the Bucks. And Egbuka seems like the candidate to do that from a talent standpoint. I think he's a whole step better than McMillan is. And now we just need him to get healthy. I feel like the drop in ADP that we've seen is entirely related to just some health nerves. But in all probability, again, preseason doesn't get rushed back. Even if it's a game or two at the beginning of the season, in regular formats, not chop formats. Chop formats, we care a lot about September. I'm willing to live with that. I like to roll the dice. I've got Egbuka right now as wide receiver 18 on my cheat sheet. Joe, is that close to where you've got him going?
Yeah, it's in that same range. I got a question for you. These three guys were on the board when I was picking in the fourth round. Again, roster construction matters. Travis Etienne, Jeremiah Love, and Emeka Egbuka. Who would you?
Oh, wow.
And now, granted, it was a 2 wide receiver league, not 3. So that also
okay. I'd have taken Love.
You'd have taken Love. I struggled with back and forth, and I just went at the end of the day. I was like, you know what? Because I wanted more stability because I took the home run swing the round before with Malik Neighbors, who fell. Where I just felt like, hey, there's not a lot of guys on the board to give me 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns if everything breaks right. And I was a big fader of Neighbors coming into the year. And every week I watch and I'm like, it just seems like he is further along than we think. And I'm like, stupid, stop drafting guys who are hurt right now and guys who are getting better. Which brings us to another guy on the Giants, Cam Scatterbo. What a transition.
Yeah.
Professional. Last year, obviously, we saw some spurts of an incredible all-purpose running back.
Yes.
A guy, if you love football, you got to love Cam Scatterbo. He's a big, dumb animal, and that's okay with me. Is he going to burn out and not fade away? Probably, but let's hope we can get one full season, Paul. I think people disregard how good he is catching the football. I think he's easily going to approach over 1,200 all-purpose yards this year without question. Touchdown upside is there. Play calling could be suspect. He's somebody that's starting to fall in drafts. I don't understand why. Where are you at with Cam Scatterbo?
Well, the Najee Harris news dropped him a half round, and more in some, right? And I'm like, I don't know. He was a street free agent 2 weeks ago. I'm not that worried about Najee Harris. Cam Scatterbo flashed special traits, runner, receiver, and you're exactly right about the receiving chops. And Tyrone Tracy might get cut. I mean, he has looked bad. So there is a real scenario where Cam Scatterbo is on the field way, dominating amount of time and catching a bunch of passes. And for what it's worth, last year, inside the 5-yard line, no other runner touched the ball. Now it was a different coaching staff, different offense, but John Harbaugh, did that with Derrick Henry too. And I'm not saying Cam Scatterbo is Derrick Henry, but they're both big-bodied bulldozers at the goal line. And Harbaugh used him, prolifically, used Henry prolifically at the stripe. I still like Cam Scatterbo a lot. He's my running back 17. I mean, I've got him right next to Derrick Henry. I don't understand the fade here. I'm buying. You?
I'm buying as well for the same reasons. I think he is the all-purpose guy. The Najee Harris thing, I think, is a good, smart insurance policy where you bring in a veteran back who can actually teach a young back some things. Najee's been in the league a long time. He's been in some different spots too. I also think that the style of play of Scatterbo requires you to have somebody else because the injury quotient is potentially high because of his aggressiveness, that you've got to make sure you've got somebody stable behind you. And if you don't think Tyrone Tracy's that guy, then you do want a veteran like Najee Harris on the roster. It doesn't mean he's eating into his workload. I think that's way overblown, and I'm taking advantage of it. I love it too. Last guy we're going to talk about, a tight end, Sam Laporta. Last season, obviously, injury riddled, unfortunately.
Yep.
This year, we're looking to get back on track. Projections at RotoWire have him at 78 catches for 845 and 7 touchdowns. Not bad. We'll take that. Where he is in the pecking order is always something to struggle with, too. It's like the 49ers situation. There's a lot of mouths to feed. So where are you at with Laporta? Are you buying as the stock falls a little bit?
Yeah, I think he's got a new hip injury right now, and he coming off the back injury that ended his season early last year. I'll tell you why I'm still buying Laporta, and I'm trying to view this charitably. One, I believe the Lions have a chance to put together the highest scoring season in the history of the NFL, which is a lot of hyperbole, and I will probably be wrong. But I just see this, I see this collection of talent as just being bonkers. The easy schedule that I'm sure you're aware of, Joe, and most of your listeners and viewers are aware of, an almost historically easy schedule this year. And here's the biggest reason I'm optimistic on Laporta is the change with Drew Petzing as the offensive coordinator. So Drew Petzing did everything that we saw in Arizona for tight end Trey McBride. So he's got way more weapons here. He's got a lot more versatility and options than he had in Arizona, but we knew that he loved to throw to the tight end. And no tight end was targeted in goal-to-go situations more than Trey McBride in the 3 years that Drew Petzing was in Arizona. So you bring this propensity to throw to the tight end and goal-to-go, and now I've got this, I've got a Detroit offense in which defenders have to worry about 5 different players that could get the ball in goal-to-go situations. I think Laporte is sitting, if healthy, it's all injury risk. If healthy, he's sitting on a really nice touchdown season that we haven't had from him in the past.
Most prolific offense of all time. That could be special. I remember one that was like that. It was the greatest show on turf.
Oh yeah, look at that. How about that? Yes.
Subscribe to the channel.
Oh, beautiful.
Drop your comments, like this video, hype this video, do all those things, and you have a chance to win this right here, the Marshall Faulk autographed jersey. Don't forget also, support RotoWire, 20% off. Use that promo code JoeyP. Download the app today. Go to rotowire.com and use it. Use all the tools for your waiver wire. Use all the tools for your trades, for your drafts, for your mock drafts to get ready for any last-minute drafts you have. And, of course, go check out the new podcast, too. Staying Alive. I mean, Paul Charchian, one of the best there is, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. A little Bret Hart action for you. Paul, it was great to talk to you. Great to catch up. I know we ran long, but, hey, we're just two guys talking football. And I'm just happy for you about the new show and that you don't have to shovel snow anymore, because the older I get, every winter that passes, I understand why people leave for Florida when they live in New York and New Jersey. I'm starting to understand that.
Yeah, right. And it's always Florida, Boca Raton. That's.
Don't love Florida, but you know what? I get it. I understand. All right. And if you want to be in a chop,
Utah.
There you go. I'll have to go check it out. I'll come over. We'll hang out. We'll watch the games together. Of course, don't forget, everybody, if you want to get in a chop league with me this season, let's play together. Let's have some fun. Drop your sleeper name. Tell me you want in the comments. And the first 16 people, boom, I'm going to send you the invite. And we'll get that set up before the season starts. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Paul, I'm Joe Pisapia, and this has been Fandom NFL.